Neil Gorsuch said gosh and golly, and he quoted Hamilton and Socrates. And really, at his Senate confirmation hearing yesterday, he put on a clinic in how a witness should behave. I mean, I've covered hundreds and hundreds of confirmation hearings, watched many of them. This was a guy who knew how to handle the congressman, including, the Democrats who were trying to embarrass him and rough him up a little bit. He kept coming back to a judge has to have respect for precedent. And there were no such thing as Republican or Democratic judges in his view. And a good judge shouldn't care a whit about politics. And no matter what was thrown at him, he had that sort of cool demeanor. And I really thought it was one of the most impressive performances that I have seen. Now, obviously, all of these hearings involve a bit of a kabuki dance where if you're a conservative judge or a liberal judge, you say, I can't possibly discuss this or that senator. I can't discuss any hearing. It's going to come before the court. But there was something about the way in which Gorsuch handled himself, in which he said, he would never feel any constraint whatsoever about overturning a case involving the president who appointed him. You could tell that he really felt deeply about it. Now, there's a reason that Donald Trump picked him, and that is he does have a strong conservative track record. But Gorsuch made the argument that he may not even personally agree with some of the rulings that he has issued as a federal judge, but it is his job to interpret the law. And as we've seen with John Roberts, who also talked, this is about a decade ago, about calling balls and strikes, when he was up for Supreme Court confirmation, there are times when a judge in a high-profile case, Roberts, for example, on Obamacare and same-sex marriage, does sort of break with the party or the president who supported him. So, it's like the game film should be shown to future witnesses because even when he was in a tight spot, he managed to get out of it. He showed great respect and deference to the lawmakers who were grilling him. And it's fascinating because decades ago, I covered Antonin Scalia's confirmation hearing. An absolutely strong, committed conservative, and this is the seat, of course, that Gorsuch will be filling if he's confirmed. He was approved by the Senate 98-0. That is impossible to imagine in today's hyper-partisan era, but Gorsuch really helped himself with his testimony yesterday. And one last personal point, I also covered Neil Gorsuch's mother, Ann Gorsuch, when she was the head of Ronald Reagan's EPA. She had a very rocky tenure. She was cited for contempt of Congress and ultimately had to resign. But she raised quite a son, and the fascinating thing is, for whatever mistakes his mother made, he showed how to handle Congress and how not to lose your cool, because when you're under attack constantly, you're being asked these tough questions, and isn't it true that you don't care about the little guy, that you only favor big corporations? The natural instinct after 2, 3, 4, 5 hours would be to get a little testy. Gorsuch didn't do that, and I have to think, regardless of your politics, he did come forward, he did come across as a pretty effective and committed judge.